Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I am Petter and this is James.
Hello.
And today we're talking about volume 7 of A Bride's Story. In this volume, Smith and Ali come to a new city on their travels, supposedly somewhere in Persia, based on the afterword in this volume.
Mm-hmm.
And they're taken in by a very wealthy man. And this man's wife, Anise, or however it's supposed to be pronounced, I'm choosing, or we're choosing that pronunciation. She is more or less dissatisfied with her life as it is at the beginning of the volume, but she learns about the public bathhouses and the concept of avowed sisters, and thus she starts attending the baths frequently. And there she meets and befriends Shireen, the wife of the cloth dyer, and their relationship starts growing. They eventually become avowed sisters, but shortly after that, Shireen's husband suddenly died. And it wasn't clothes this time. Get it? Because he was a dyer.
Oh,
Sorry.
I no, that was good. That was good.
Anyway, Anis suggested that Shireen become the second wife of her husband in order to save Shireen and in her financial situation and whatnot. And so that came to be. And Smith and Ali, they moved on with their journey as the volume ended. And there was a brief little side story also with Karlik's mom, Sanira, having a fever. Just a nice little brief chapter with her and her husband, Akunbek. And that was...
Sweaty mommy moment.
Volume 7, yes. Very much sweat.
I swear, Mori was on something this volume. She was just like, I'm horny and I don't care who knows about it.
Absolutely. This is more titties than we've ever seen before.
Oh my gosh. I mean, look, bathing and nudity, especially between genders in most societies, is pretty common. It depends, but it should it be that big of a deal? Probably not. But in my Western mind, it is rather shocking to think about, let alone read about. I mean, I've been to public bathhouses in Japan, and for the most part, people are covering themselves with a little towel or whatever. It's not that crazy, but I don't know. It's just the fact that we're reading about it that it just seems so risque. And I was in an airport when I was reading this, and I had no idea this was gonna happen. When they're going to the bathhouse, it's like, okay, surely we're not gonna see anything. Turn the page. Oh my goodness! Like, it is just like right in your face. I immediately shut it. It's like kind of tried to like gingerly look around to see if anybody was looking at me. No, I don't think anybody cared, but it really took a toll on me.
Oh boy. Yeah.
But anyway, I read it safely in the comfort of my own room later on. But I had asked for less nudity in the past, and she doubled down with more. So I guess I can respect that. But that's not the point of the volume. The point of the volume is this beautiful friendship between these two women.
But there was a full color big image at the very end of this volume with all these naked breasts and everything. That seemed not necessarily necessary for the plot. Let's be honest.
Yeah, when I pulled that out, I should have expected it, but I did not.
Yeah. No, I was surprised as well.
It shocked me. I thought it would have been like a lovely picture of Anise and Shireen kind of, holding hands and near the water or whatever, but nope.
I mean, that's basically what it is.
Well, I guess maybe they were still, yeah, just a lot less clothing than I expected.
Yes.
I also like this, or you can summarize this volume this way. Hello, this is my wife, and this is my wife's girlfriend, who's also my wife.
Yes.
Or maybe my wife's wife, who's also my wife.
Exactly that, I think. Yeah, that is awesome.
It's a very interesting volume. Very
Yeah.
I feel culture shocked.
It this volume also separates itself from the rest of the story more so I think than most of the others have,
Yeah.
because like it's got nothing at all to do with Amir's story, and
No.
even though it is technically part of Smith's story, it's still even separated from him. Like he never actually even met Anis. So
Yeah.
like Anis's story is very much its own part of this whole manga series,
Yeah.
which is interesting, I think. But I liked it personally. I liked it very much. But anything else before we move into these character discussions?
No, that's it. I'm ready.
Then let us talk about Anis. She is married to a man with no name, or at least he's not named in the book. And she
Yeah.
has a baby son named Hassan.
The baby gets a name.
Yeah, the baby got a
But
name.
her husband does. I guess to be fair, it's her child, so
Absolutely.
you would hope it had a name.
Yeah, but Anis is not quite satisfied with life, at least early on in this volume. I mean, she kept saying that she was happy, but she didn't look truly happy until she met Shireen.
Like maybe she was happy but not content, or I don't know, or I feel like there's something in there. Like she didn't lack for anything, but she was clearly bored
Oh, definitely bored, yeah.
and lonely.
Uh-huh. Definitely.
So she definitely needed something else in her life.
Precisely. So Mafu told her about the public baths, which very quickly got Anis excited, about
Mm-hmm.
the idea. And also the thought of finding an avowed sister seemed very appealing to Anis pretty much right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so when she saw Shireen, well, I think it was love at first sight. The way, like, based on how Anis kept thinking about Shireen after that day, and like for days she kept thinking about her, and she very much wanted to meet that person, like, and talk to her and get to know her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the concept of devout sisters is an interesting one. I tried looking online based on the word that Mori puts in the afterword,
Uh-huh.
but I couldn't really find anything concrete or anything that I could truly understand, to be honest. Not to say it doesn't exist. It probably exists, probably in books or something, or maybe it's something that unfortunately our uh, culture has kind of buried under the ground, or maybe their own culture has buried it on the ground. Because
Could
I think
be.
nowadays they would be very. It seems like they'd be very against that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was actually romantic relationships or not.
Right, right.
But based on what she says and how she has written it, it does seem to be basically a romantic couple within a heterogeneous marriage, so that you're supposed to be married, at least that's what she says, and then you get avowed with another married woman. So it's a very interesting idea.
Yeah.
I guess for me, how do I put this? That part of the world has very restrictive rules when it comes to women, I feel like. And we see it in this volume where when they go outside they have to cover their faces entirely.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's still the case in some parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, religion reasons I understand, but to me and my background, it does seem very sexist and very,
For sure.
I guess, oppressive to women.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
I have that kind of an idea. So then to see something like Avowed Sisters that kind of gives them a little bit of joy despite the oppressive nature of the community that they live in. I don't know, it's kind of nice to think about and hope for. Whether it is romantic or just strictly platonic friendship, I don't know. I'm not going to say one way or the other.
Right, fair.
I'll let the not the philosophers, the historians debate that. But
Yeah, I mean, it's
I think it's pretty clear. Sorry, I'm talking a long time.
all good, all
I
good.
think it's pretty clear in Maury's aspect that it's less than lovers but more than friends. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I
Or maybe all the way to lovers. I don't know.
personally, I think it's straight up lovers. But I mean, it isn't like literally spelled out for us necessarily,
Uh-huh.
obviously. So I guess it is still up for interpretation. But personally, I'm viewing it as lovers because I think there were a lot of signs that seemed, to me at least, to point that way.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get it.
Like there was this whole thing, like after they had properly met and like had some time to talk, they wanted to meet again, but planning another meetup was hard due to Shireen not being able to afford to come to the bathhouse very often and whatnot. So they decided to meet on the day after a rainfall. And
Mm-hmm.
I just think there's something so romantic and poetic about that. Like seeing Anise as she's watching the sky, like longing for rain so that she can be with Shireen again. I think that's beautiful. And
Mm.
I don't know. And you know, that then the rain came and just seeing the joy on her face and also you can tell how happy both she and Shireen were to see each other after the rain.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think that's very romantic.
Mm.
And I guess about the avowed sistership, if I understood it correctly, like it's not necessarily a romantic commitment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she doesn't say romantic in her afterwards.
No, for sure, right.
She goes about as far as you can. Really.
Yeah, so like maybe perhaps in general being avowed sisters might just mean like very very close friendship.
BFFs.
For sure, yeah. That said, I think Anise and Shireen's avowed sistership definitely felt like a romantic commitment. Like from the way that they interacted before becoming avowed sisters, then to the proposal technically, and then the ceremony, which was very much like a wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately their continued relationship,
Yeah, that's fair.
and also the way that Mori drew the two of them on the like chapter 43 artwork, like the last chapter with them in this book.
Mm-hmm.
There was like an artwork at the start of the chapter of them. It's a very romanticized type of illustration, like a full spread image of the two of them together,
Yeah.
as well as the end of that chapter, like the very end of the volume, pretty much. You see them sitting together in the water garden, and it's just the way it's drawn and the way that they are together in that moment is just, to me, it screams romance.
Mm. And I think that's fair. That's a fair way to interpret it, and I think that's how I would as well. Although I guess I'm a little bit more. I am a little bit more on the not quite lovers, but more than friends
Mm,
kind of camp,
fair, fair.
just because of the society they're in, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, right. Officially, they can never be lovers together, like on like officially in that culture.
Yeah.
But behind closed doors, I think they definitely are.
So this brings up a couple questions I have that I just want to throw out there. First off, the fact that this wealthy woman goes to this bath and just grabs another woman that she is attracted to and not forces her, but kind of rings her into this whole thing. Doesn't that kind of seem a bit of economic pressure? You know, if I say no to this rich person, what's going to happen to me? You know, I mean,
Interesting.
I think Shireen generally does find her interesting,
Mm-hmm.
they have this love, this friendship,
Uh-huh.
but I see that and it's kind of it does kind of seem a little peer pressured into this avowed sister thing. But
Huh.
again, that's a cynical view, and I, but I do think they actually have a deep bond. But that's just something I wanted to put out there if you felt that at all.
Right. I did not. But that is an interesting point still. Like, and like I agree with you that it probably isn't the case necessarily that there was pressure,
Mm-hmm.
even though I guess yeah, it is fair to point out at least a chance of it. Um, because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just the way that their relationship was or is, like it, I don't know, it didn't feel like there was pressure involved in that way, at least not to me.
Yeah, I think it started off a little awkward
Yeah.
in terms of just talking to each other, but I
Mhm.
think once well, I think once the proposal happened, it was clear that Shireen cared equally for Anis.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that turned out to be that way.
for sure.
Now my other question is, do you feel bad at all for the husband? I mean, even though he's a wealthy man who has 2 wives now, do you feel bad at all
Uh,
for the man? If it kind of feels like he's getting NTR'd here, you know what I mean?
yeah, right. I, yeah, part of me did feel bad for him. He is a very nice man,
Yeah.
as Anis does point out, I think several times.
I mean, he's getting another wife, so there's that. But he was so willing to not have. I mean, he says himself, I didn't really think I needed or wanted another one, but I also wanted to keep on your feelings, Anis, about all this, and
Uh-huh.
you're the love of my life, and it felt so romantic when he would try to talk to her, and I think she would reciprocate those feelings, but then also, you know, share this being another one. It's almost as if Anise has become the thing that she would have been against it, like if her husband had started with 2 wives. You know what I mean? Like
Oh.
she and now has 2 partners,
Ah.
and I mean, I guess he technically has 2 partners too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, another cynical way to look at this. In
Yeah.
the end, I think it doesn't really matter too much. Although I do feel a
Mhm.
little bit sad for him in terms of not being Anis's first love. Because, sorry, there's a line that she says about something about my real friend or something like that. Let me find it
Yeah,
real quick.
right. I think I know the part. Is it when she explains the idea of about sisters to him?
Yeah.
Page 119.
Oh yeah. I think so. One I can talk to about anything. A friend who's closer than any other in the whole world. And maybe that doesn't sound as bad as I thought, but I don't know. Something about that line seems like that could hurt a guy who cherishes his. It seems to cherish his wife very much,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe he doesn't care. I don't know.
I
Just
I think he does on some level, based on his expression in certain and like his reactions to things. Like I think he is a little bit hurt, but at the same time, he loves Anise so much that
yeah,
he wants her to be happy.
yeah,
It's probably complicated.
yeah. No, it definitely is, and like we were saying before, she was definitely lonely, bored, and not quite happy as things she deserved to be, and no one should be that lonely. I think unless they want to.
Hmm.
So I'm glad she has a friend that she can spend her time with. But I do feel bad for unnamed husband man.
Yeah.
But well, before I end off with in the husband discussion, great guy. He
Mm,
takes in Shireen's family.
right.
He's not doing it just to get a second wife. He's doing it because I have the capacity to help, and this person's in need, so I'm going to lend a hand. And I think that was very admirable. And you know,
Definitely.
I think we can all follow that kind of advice.
Yeah. Plus, I think it also helps that Anis requested it of him.
Yeah,
That
he
definitely
probably wouldn't even have done anything or known about it unless Anise brought it up.
true.
And to Anise's credit, she had to swallow, I guess, her own worries and maybe pride in a way of sharing her husband.
Yeah.
Because she says, like, if anybody else, I object to it big time. But if it's you, Shireen, then absolutely I can. Which, when you're thinking about her relationship with her husband, it seems like a big sacrifice. But we're thinking about what she's gaining in it all. It's like, is it really that big of a sacrifice? But whatever.
Well, yeah, right. And
No
especially
need to think too hard about it.
if I am interpreting it correctly with her true love being Shireen, then yeah,
Uh
it's a big win for Anise.
huh.
But
Yeah.
still, really, actually, when she said that, when she said, if you were the second wife, I would have no objections. that actually got me to tear up a bit. I thought that was a very powerful little moment between the two.
Yeah, it was though. It was.
Mm.
Yeah. It's a little bit about Shireen. Yeah, that whole death of her husband was very tragic. I think equally it's the devastation of not knowing what's going to happen next. You rely so heavily on the man of the house, so to speak, to provide and be there as the, I guess, the support beam for the family. That he dies like that. What do you do?
Right.
What can you do? And it's just sad in that kind of situation, in that world, women have so little option in terms of economic stability unless they had a husband who was working. And maybe she could have been fine somehow, but I don't know. It didn't seem like there were many options after that.
Right. Yeah, that sucks. I mean, it worked out in the end, but yeah,
Yeah,
it like
you're
just
right.
in general, like for a lot of people in similar situations, it doesn't work out. Like
Yeah.
that is really tough.
How many people in history have their husband die and then they they just end up on the streets or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It just breaks my heart to think about that kind of stuff.
truly.
But I think honestly, I think that's everything I have on them. I think we covered everything.
I think so. Then next, I'd like to talk a bit about Henry Smith. So both he and Ali were surprised to be welcomed with such, I guess, wealth.
Yeah,
um,
extravagancy.
yeah,
Something like that.
right. That definitely, and like, yeah, and to be welcomed by such a wealthy host.
Yeah.
Um, and their host described them as very important guests,
Yes.
which got me thinking, like, exactly what kind of contacts is it that Smith has?
I'm telling you.
Like obviously, yeah, we understand that he himself is probably decently wealthy. He supposedly has a house in
Yeah.
India or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he's doing all this traveling
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. So yeah, but I don't know. Just the impression I'm getting is that he's got contacts that are maybe far wealthier than himself, who is
Mm-hmm.
kind of arranging all of this. So I mean, I'm interested to find out who that could be, or what kind of people or person that could be.
I agree. He mentions his brother is the one who will inherit everything, or if he hasn't inherited already.
Hmm.
And that, second oldest or the children after that don't get anything, which I think that seems about right for that time period, I suppose.
Hmm.
But he still comes from a wealthy family, clearly, and so he's going to have some sort of connections. That being said, I don't think this puts off the table that he couldn't be someone, you know, very valuable for the government, maybe,
Yeah.
in terms of espionage. I'm putting that theory still out there.
Yeah.
I think it's possible still.
That is fun. I yeah, hold on to that. I think that is good. I personally am not there with you, but I am enjoying.
Well, I'm not like 100% convinced,
No,
but
sure, but still, no, it
clearly he has connections with people in the know, people who are high up
uh-huh.
within at least British government or royalty or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Just keep that in consideration.
Yeah, no, that is a fair point. And it would be fun if something like that turned out to be true. It definitely would be.
Yeah.
But something else that's fun is that Henry appears to be single. So there's more hope for him and Talas in the future, perhaps, potentially. And speaking of Talas, near the end of this volume, I believe it was in the last chapter, like the last proper chapter, Anis's husband, well, yeah, he took Shireen in and as his second wife because it was within his power to help someone in need.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could have resonated with Henry in regards to his possible future with Talas, because that was he was in a sort of similar situation with her, but then obviously nothing came of it in the end. But I think he thought of her there.
Potentially.
And I think he may act differently if he were to meet her again. Like he may be more on top of it or whatever. Like get that marriage done.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. That's a fair point. I didn't read it that way, and looking back, I don't know if I quite still read it that way as if he took it to heart. But it would be cool if he remembers those words later on or something like that. I think that'd be a really neat connection.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think he was thinking of Talos at a different point earlier in the story when he was asked about his relationship status.
Oh, yeah.
And says, no, I'm not married, I'm single, whatever. He says he may never marry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because he's thinking about his current situation as a spy? No. His current situation. Just his, I guess, wandering scholar or whatever. Or is he thinking about his love to Talis? Like, is he thinking about that, she being the true love, or, his only one for him kind of mentality? I don't know. I thought that was a too specific of a line to not mean anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, just putting that out there.
For sure. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good possibility as well. And anything else on Mr. Smith?
No.
I guess I could bring up Ali very briefly. Looks like he finally found his bride. That cat got very attached to him.
It really did. And I don't know if Maury was thinking about this, but knowing her, based on what I've read from her through this, I'm sure she was planning on it. Ali kind of is ignoring the cat the whole time, but that just makes the cat want to be with him even more.
Right, that's how a lot of cats work.
That's how cats work. Like, you don't pay attention to me. It's like, oh my gosh, I like this guy, but then you look at Anise, who will smother the cat a little too much, and the cat gets annoyed and walks away or whatever.
Oh yes. It's a very good depiction of a cat. I love it.
Yeah, actually, yes, very much so. So yeah, like you said, he found his bride and he has nightmares about it. That's funny. It's just whenever he was asleep, the cat was always on top of him.
Right. Are there any other characters you want to talk about?
Just one more about the bonus chapter. It's really just commenting on that. Never knew Dad was a Chad like that. He's just comparing his wife to a horse. He's like, no, humans and horses are quite similar. All right, lift your arms up. Come on, don't be bashful. You never change. And then what could sometimes be seen as an intimate moment in some people's lives, to him it was just like, all right, come on, sleep, get into my mat. All right, good night. That's it.
It's very sweet. Like, obviously,
I like it.
The two of them have been together for a long time. Like, they have kids who've grown up and moved out. Like
10 years or something. I'm just kidding.
I wonder just how long. Like, it's got to be at least 20 years, or could be upwards of 30. No, how old are they supposed to be?
30 might be pushing.
That's
maybe
that is
I don't know.
pushing
Are
it.
these guys just? I hope these guys aren't just in their 30s. That'd be wild. There's no way.
They look kind of young.
Yeah.
But I think they are older than they look.
They gotta at least be in their 40s.
I think both are older than they look. I believe they may be upper 40s.
But look, if they would have got married like at 16 and 15, then had kids, and they got married off at 15 and 16, we could be talking about late 30s, early 40s.
I guess yeah, that is possible. Well,
Different society,
yeah,
shorter life span.
that too.
But anyway, it was a very sweet moment
Definitely.
between the two.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Like even though it's never like the main focus, but it is nice I think to see the two of them in their relationship, which is so much like
Yeah,
there's so much. Well, since they've been in their relationship for so much longer than a lot of the other characters have, it's fun to see like just how well they know each other and kind of the routines and stuff like that they got.
yeah. I mean, I certainly didn't expect to see every inch of the mom there, but uh,
Well, she was somewhat censored
oh no, she yeah. I guess you're right. I shouldn't say
compared to the rest of the volume.
yeah, yes, yeah. This is the edited version, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice. I feel like this is the second or third chapter or volume in a row where we've had a bonus chapter about the that family. Because there
Right.
was one with the grandma goat, and then another one with
Precisely.
the brother-in-law with the horse.
Right. Yeah. So like
So
I guess whenever they're not around in the volume proper, Mori still needs to get them in there somehow. Like
and I like that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got like
Keep us up to
we
date
got
on
like
them.
1 page of Amir content in this volume.
You're
But
right.
she was there.
Unlike Paria.
Yes. Well, should we move into some predictions?
Let's do it.
Great. Then, speaking of Paria, she is supposedly making a comeback in the next volume, not only based on the afterword, but also based on the cover art of Volume 8, as well as Volume 9. Like, both of the coming two volumes have her on the cover. So I guess,
I know.
you know, I guess we'll get good content with her for 2 volumes straight.
Woo!
So that is very exciting.
Yeah, baby! It's what I've been waiting for. Yeah, I hope the next date goes well. If it's 2 volumes worth, I mean, it could be like all the way into the marriage and engagement or something like that, or maybe some crazy stuff is gonna happen. In terms of finding her right man, maybe the date doesn't go so well. Maybe there's some more making up that has to happen. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of expecting, or at least on some level, I'm expecting a sort of similar thing as we got for Lila and Laylee, where we got basically 2 full volumes of the two of them. Or well, it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
2 full volumes, but it was at least 2 volumes more or less
Yeah.
of the two of them, which ended with them getting married. I wonder if it'll be a similar thing with Paria here, where she will get married in Volume 9, but it will be well, we will have the lead up to that in Volume 8, perhaps.
So that thought came across my mind when I was thinking about these predictions. I don't want to be opposed to that because I want her happiness and I want her to feel like she's, moving on in her life. But we already had that, and I kind of want to see something
Sure.
different.
True.
But like everyone gets married, maybe it happens differently, but everyone gets married. Well, not I can say everyone. Marriage is very common. So
Right.
how different can you make it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you can make it decently different. I mean, Lila and Laylee are definitely very different characters from Paria,
Yeah, that's true.
and I think like the struggle to get up to the well, to the wedding perhaps would be a different one, and
Yeah.
I think there would be different charms. I have a feeling I would enjoy Paria's more than I did Lila and Laylee, for example.
Fair. Fair.
um, but yeah, no, although that said, I'm not opposed to it not leading to that, but that it'll be farther down the line in a future volume beyond volume 9
Yeah.
that she would get her satisfaction. Just let her suffer a little longer. I mean that's fine by me.
Yeah. I think she'll shine either way,
Oh yes.
for sure.
Oh yes. Very stoked.
Yeah. Really quick, since we talked about Henry, I wanted to bring up Talus again and just say I do think that they will meet up in the future at some point.
Yes.
I think that is for sure a possibility, and maybe I've said it in predictions before, but there's too many signs of them potentially meeting again for me not to think that.
Mm-hmm.
And the pocket watch is still out there. I feel like he's still thinking about about her, and I think you agree.
For sure.
Maybe we'll see Talus separately, like she'll get a chapter in an upcoming volume. And maybe we'll see how her life is going right now. But I hope they do meet up eventually.
And I think they will. I feel
Yeah.
pretty confident that they will, based on, well, based on what we've been left with, and based on the little hints that I think the previous volume gave stronger hints about it than this one, but this one also did it a bit.
Mm,
There's got to be a reunion.
yeah.
It's just a matter of time. And well, something that was mentioned in the afterword also was that the next volume will, I guess, conclude Anisa's and Shireen's story somehow.
Mm,
There will be one more chapter with them in the next volume.
nice.
So that, yeah, that will be nice. Hopefully it will end well. Although that said, even if it like gives us a satisfying conclusion to their story, I, well, obviously I haven't read that chapter yet, but I still think it would be nice to check in on them further down the line again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anybody or any character that we haven't or that we've met already that we shouldn't see again. I think
Right.
they equally should have a chance to come back into the story, whether it be a mini arc or a whole volume. I don't know, but yeah, it would be fun to see them again. Honestly, I think it'd be really nice to see them again when both of their sons are talking
Yeah.
and moving around. They don't have to be teenage or anything, but maybe they could get 5 or 6
Bit
or something
older,
like
yeah.
that.
Uh-huh.
That could be fun.
Yeah. And the afterword also implied that we will get to know what happened with Amir and Azel after volume 6.
Yes,
So that's also exciting.
indeed.
In general, I don't have a lot of new predictions really. Like other than like I guess what I've been doing here, like I've been mentioning stuff that
Right.
was brought up in the afterword. Um I like I mentioned last time some predictions based on volume 6 about seeing the Ahon town, well it's not called Ahon town, but I don't know what to call it.
I know. Yeah.
About seeing like the state of the town after the big battle from volume 6 and the potential tragedies that the battle may have brought. Like I'm still not necessarily expecting those sorts of things, but I am ready for it, I guess. Like maybe someone has died, maybe something big, a big building has been destroyed that affects a lot of things in town for a lot of people. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm expecting. I mean, certainly there were buildings that were destroyed, and
Mm,
I we know that there's some deaths. I don't think there's anybody too big that we know of that will have died. That's just my opinion. Um, I think the most interesting aspect is going to be what they do with Azel.
sure.
But I think Amir and
Mm-hmm.
Azel will end up talking about their father and grandfather as they try to grieve over his death. And maybe that's how we could get a little insight into what their father and grandfather were like while they were growing up, maybe.
Ooh,
Maybe that's too much to ask for in a small snippet, but I don't know. I think that could be interesting.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, I do think Azel will return home to lead his clan. I really do think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do agree. Whether it happens right away or a little later, but yeah, that's probably where his story is going.
Yeah, it may not happen this next volume per se, but I think it will. It will happen.
Yeah. And yeah, and like, I'm trying to think about what types of disaster the battle could have brought. I know last time I mentioned, I think very spontaneously, the idea that Paria's dad could have died, which definitely would be bad. Like that would definitely,
yeah, it would be.
Another thing that would be bad for in Paria's situation here is if, let's say, the boy that she's in talks with, maybe his dad or something like that died.
Yeah,
that would also hinder things.
they happened to come into town and during the battle, and that happened. Oh, that could be rough.
Yeah. I hope Paria will make some more bread, because she is great at making beautiful, tasty bread.
Great designs.
I think very highly of this girl.
Yeah, hey, I join you.
Good. Well, any other predictions or any thoughts you want to share?
I think this volume was nice. Obviously shocking, as I said earlier, but I think it was good, but not a whole lot in terms of progressing the main plot per se.
No.
It's kind of similar to how we discussed the twins volume. Was that like volume 4 or whatever? It just wasn't a whole lot going on for the main characters, but it was still nice to see their story, to see their part of the world. Just as it was interesting to see Anis's world.
Yeah, and I think especially through Henry's journey, we'll get to see a lot of different parts of the world.
Yeah.
So that's very fun. But I guess that's all for this episode.
Okay.
Then, if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time, and we'll talk about Volume 8. Bye-bye!
See you later! I was getting over my nasal congestion, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I could run. I've heard that running can help kind of relieve some sinus tension because as I guess fluids leave or whatever. So I'm running, and at about more towards the beginning of my run, some sort of bug flies into my throat, and I'm like I start choking.
Oh no!
So not only am I like I'm somewhat sick, and there's mucus coming out of my nose because sinuses and whatnot. I'm like hacking and coughing, and it probably sounds like I have COVID or something like that. At one point, like I'm like dry heaving.
Oof.
Because I don't know, it's just my body's reacting to the fact this bug is just like stuck in my throat.
Oh no.
And I don't know if there's anybody watching me. I'm in a neighborhood, so I'm sure there had to been somebody who's just looking out their window, and it's just like, what is happening over there to that man? Oh gosh, I kept running after that, but I was just like drooling and trying to get it out. I don't think I got it out, unfortunately, but
oof.
I don't know. It tried to kill me.
That's rough, buddy.